Welcome to the Survivor's Chair podcast, a podcast where we break down our stories and our trauma, understanding how they have impacted our career and our life. This is a place where we break free from shame, own our truth, and step into our power, one story at a time. Hi, I'm Kim, an adoptee, a former foster youth, hairstylist, salon owner, breast cancer, and complex trauma survivor. So join us, pull up a chair in this no sugarcoating, no holding back, honest conversation about healing and success. Well, hello, my friends, and welcome to episode 3 of the Survivor's Chair podcast. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for all your support as I figure this whole thing out because, you just got to start. You can't wait till you're ready. You can't wait till you have all the answers. You just got to start. So that's what I'm doing. Today, we're going to talk about a behavior that I had that was trauma-driven. And there's a lot of behaviors, I would say, that we're unaware of that is driven by our trauma or our story. I didn't know that at the time. This is a space where we can talk about everything, bring an awareness and a light to some of the things that might be getting in the way and might have us stuck that we're unaware of, like I was. And, my feelings about sharing this stuff with you, and the reason why I'm writing a book too, it's more about somebody has to go first. Somebody has to start talking first. So I'm going to start talking, and I'm going to bring all my warts out here so everybody can see them and know that they're not alone. So you're not alone. There's a lot of us out there that struggle with certain things, and we're not all the same, but we can relate to each other. I do think that when somebody else shares their story, it just creates a safe environment for everybody, creates a safe space for other people to share their story. So I'm going first and I'm going to share. So let's dive in. I'm going to talk about something today that I was praised for a lot. And it was definitely a trauma-driven behavior that I had. And it was overworking. And when I say overworking, I mean beyond overworking. Every second of my day was filled with something, and it was never something for me, shall we say. It was always for other people. So there's multiple reasons why I did this overworking, that hustle, that drive, which I do have a high drive. I'm not going to lie about that, but this was next level. I had a scarcity mindset that played into it too, which if you've never heard that word before or that phrase, just means that you never think that you're going to have enough. Like I never thought enough money was enough. And one of the things that I did was I undercharged for my services as a hairstylist because I didn't feel worthy. So that's another thing that played into it because of that unworthiness, and not charging enough meant I had to work harder to make a living. It might have looked good on the outside, but I was working myself to the bone to make a living. And the other piece of the scarcity mindset is I didn't think that I would ever make enough to survive. I thought if I slowed down, it would go away and I would starve to death and I wouldn't have a roof over my head. It boils down to those basic needs. When you don't get them as a child or they didn't go the right way, you didn't get them as you should have gotten them, which I did not. So that throws everything off. So that scarcity mindset played into not ever being enough. So I just kept working and working and working. And I worked my ass off like a crazy person. The other piece of that is people pleasing. And I think we could have a separate podcast on all of those topics as far as scarcity mindset, people pleasing. I'm talking about overworking and burnout right now and why that's a trauma-driven response or behavior. I say behavior. I never said no. And because I never said no, I came in early. I worked late. I came on my days off. I would come in on my days off and then I would have people not show up because they didn't value my time, because I didn't value my time. It was such a chain reaction. And I did this because I didn't want to inconvenience anybody. Because if I inconvenienced them, then I wouldn't be liked. It was okay if they inconvenienced me because my time, my life wasn't important to me. It wasn't about them. It was me. That's how I felt on the inside. It's nothing that I was aware of at the time. It was just all on the inside. So I wore myself to the ground, and I wore it like a badge of honor. And people would say to me, "Oh, Kim, you're so driven. You're such a hard worker. You're so successful." And I was just dying on the inside. You're so motivated. That was the other thing. I wasn't motivated. There's a difference between dedicated and motivated. I always say motivation leaves, dedication stays. When you're dedicated, you do it even when you don't want to do it. I did it when I didn't want to do it. But I do think that the overworking and all of those other things, those behaviors, really kind of contributed to my breast cancer diagnosis. Now, I'm not going to say that was the cause of it, because I don't believe that there is one thing that is the cause of it. I think it's multiple things, and it doesn't happen overnight. Cancer is something that grows over time because your body is tired, and it's trying to tell you, stop doing what you're doing. Stop using the chemicals. Stop eating the food. Make sure you sleep. Drink your water. Take your vitamins. Get out your emotions. I think all of those things play into that's just my thought on it. My own cancer. Nobody else's. My own. I mean, we all know that sleep, healthy diet, water, expressing our emotions, exercising, and not doing an Ironman or 9 triathlons in 1 year like I did, because that's another intense behavior that was keeping me from paying attention to me. Nothing was normal. It wasn't normal exercising. That's good for you. It was crazy, just like everything else I did. Everything I did was just intense, whether I was working out, people pleasing. I went all in. And the funny thing about it is I didn't feel burnt out. I didn't feel it. Like, I was completely disassociated from that feeling of pain, my body hurting, my tiredness, my lack of nutrition, all of that, my sacrifices that I was making all over the place for other people. I didn't feel it because I wasn't in tune with my own body and my own feelings. That was stuffed so deep, I couldn't even get to it. You learn to shut it off. That's what you do. It's like if you don't shut it off, you can't keep going. I would be in a race. I would be doing a race and my leg would hurt, and I could shut that off in a millisecond and keep going like nothing was bothering me. If I slowed down, if I stopped and I felt the pain, then I would have to feel all the pain. And that wasn't an option for me then. Let's face it, if I did stop, I usually drank alcohol because that would make it go away too. And like I said in my last episode, it's been really interesting to take a look at my relationship with alcohol over the years, now that I haven't had a drink in a year and a half. So that was just beating my body up even more. I wanted to appear that I had it all together. I could run my business on 4 hours of sleep and stand behind the chair for 12 to 14 hours a day without lunch and without a pee break. And I would be so proud of that. How crazy is that? I was like, look at me go. The sad part about this is that's still being glorified a little bit on social media. I think we're getting better. Some people have swung the pendulum to the other side where I'm only going to work 4 hours a day, 3 days a week. And I don't understand why I'm not successful. I mean, to be successful, you do have to put in the hard work, but at the same time, not at the expense of your body and your life. That is not how you have to do it. Not anymore. Social media, there's, if you're not part of the 5 a.m. club, then you're not doing it right. You're doing it wrong. You're not dedicated enough. If you're not up early, you're not dedicated to your career or your life or your health or all of that. And, the bottom line is everybody's different. And everybody's needs are different. And I'm going to talk about my niece, and I hope she's listening right now. So I'm going to talk about her for a second. Her program is different. Like, she operates better at night. She sleeps in the morning. She's on second shift. Like, that works for her. I could never do that. My body just can't do that. Some people can do overnights. Like, everybody's just different. Some people can't do things before 8 o'clock in the morning, or maybe they're better at exercising at night, not in the morning, or whatever. So everybody's different. I still see it on there. If you're not part of this 5 a.m. club, then you're just not doing it right. I know my brain works better in the morning, whether that's chemo effects or being a 56-year-old woman, I don't know. But if I want to do something important, I know I have to do it in the morning, and I have to not have any distractions at all. Shut my phone off. Don't answer my phone. Don't get on social media. That's a whole other, that's going to be a podcast in itself too, talk about social media. But I did all that stuff back in the day because that was the right thing to do, right? I was at the gym at 4:30. I was meeting my trainer at 4:30. That if I went to bed at midnight after a bottle of wine, that didn't matter because I was supposed to be at the gym at 4:30. I was supposed to be exercising. That's what the good people do. That's what the smart people do. That's what the successful people do. That's what I'm supposed to do. God, if I could go back and reclaim some of my time, trust me, I would. When you keep up that pace like I did for years, let's say I had my business for 30 years, and at some point your body gets tired, and some bodies are going to get as angry as mine, and some bodies are not. But the body knows, and the body is always trying to tell us when we need to change things, no matter what it is. If it's expressing emotions, if it's changing our daily habits, it's changing our eating, it's changing how much water we drink or how much we sleep or how we sleep. Like, the body is always telling us, and I didn't pay any attention to that at all. My problem is my body just got louder and angrier until it was like, okay, I'm going to give you something big to make you stop. And it did. It might look like I'm doing a lot out there, but I really am trying to figure out, because I'm not very good at it yet. I'm still trying to figure out a balance because I live in this fear that I'm going to get caught up in that hustle thing again and do too much and not enjoy my life and not enjoy my downtime. So I'm really very, very, very aware of how much work I'm doing. And I want to put this podcast out every week. If I miss a week, I'm not going to stress about it. Like, those days are long gone. And if somebody is out there that's going to judge me for missing a week, then they're not my people. That's all. What I was saying to my body when I was doing this whole thing is, I don't want to take care of you. You are not important to me. And I've changed that narrative. All I can say is, don't wait to care. Don't wait to take care of yourself. Don't wait to have a good life. Don't wait to enjoy the people that you love. Don't wait. And you are the most important thing that you're ever going to work on in your life. And you only get one chance to do it. And I'm 56 years old. I'm just realizing that, which is kind of crazy. So what was my changing point besides getting the big C? I mean, I was working my way to it because I had been working on myself for a lot of years. And I like to work on myself. I like to take a deep dive into myself to learn about why I'm doing things and, the behaviors. And yeah, I'm not perfect. I screw up all the time, actually. I was doing all the stuff, but nothing was changing, right? Because I was very heady into it. I was heady into the changing. I still wasn't feeling, and I wasn't getting to the core of my behaviors, the real hurt, the real pain that was driving my behavior to keep going and never stopping and never taking a breath. Like, what was that core? My core was my abandonment, which stemmed with my not feeling worthy and my drive to be liked and it wasn't even to be liked. It was that, but it was a lot of like, oh, good, I'm doing the right thing. I'm good. The praise that came behind that, it fueled that I wasn't damaged goods like I felt on the inside. And I would people please so much so they wouldn't abandon me. Like, just a side note, that is so exhausting. And then you end up surrounding yourself with people you can never please. And they're always looking for more, which is exactly what I did. I never felt that enough was enough for certain people in my life. I mean, I didn't feel worthy of rest. You know, if I rested, that meant I was lazy. How dare I rest? I need to keep working so I was successful. Don't take a day off. Don't take a vacation. Lazy, lazy, lazy. And if you're on vacation, you better still be working. If I wasn't working, and then I wasn't an overachiever, I wasn't a go-getter. When we start to dig into the nitty-gritty of why we do what we do, all of the magic lies on the other side of that. I'm not going to lie. It's freaking hard. Some days it sucks. Some days you don't want to. Some days you just want to pull the covers over your head and say, screw it. I just want to be the old me. And I want to complain about my job. And I want to complain about my spouse. And I want to complain about my family. And I want to complain about the house I live in. And I want to complain about the groceries. And I want to complain about blah, blah, blah. I want to complain about all those outside things instead of look at myself. So much easier. I'm not going to lie. So much easier. Slowing down's hard. That's one of the hardest things for me to do. And it's hard not to have structure every day. I'm still sorting that out and finding out what works best for me to balance out life and work. I mean, does it all require you to change? Yeah. Yeah, it does. It doesn't require other people in your life to change because that's not possible. You cannot change anybody in your life. You can't change their behaviors. You can't change the things you don't like about them. All you can do is change yourself and change your reactions and then figure out if these pieces still fit in your life after you've made the changes. So it's not your job. It's not society. It's not everybody else that's wrong. Or maybe they are, but we have the power. You know, you hate your job, get a new job. It sounds so simple. Sometimes it could be the hardest decision of your life, but it really is that simple. And I guarantee the relief that you're going to feel after you quit that job that you hate so, 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 so much. Because trust me, the more you grow, the more you learn about yourself, the more opportunities are going to be out there and the doors are going to open. You cannot open a new door unless you close an old one. And when I walked away from my 30-year successful business and shut the door in 6 weeks, that was one of the hardest decisions I ever made because that was my identity, my whole entire life. Who was I without being a salon owner? Who was I if I wasn't somebody's boss? Who was I if I wasn't trying to help other people become successful? Who was I? I didn't know. And I'm still trying to figure that one out. But I could not continue doing what I was doing. I had changed on the inside. And it was not lining up with my life anymore. And every day that I went in there, although I loved my staff, I loved my clients, I loved everybody, I could not do the work anymore. And when I decided to close that business, what a sense of relief I had. And, you know, I'm not telling you to go out and close your business or quit your job tomorrow or whatever, but if you're not happy, take the time to really think about it. Take the time to talk to somebody about it, talk it through, whether it's a therapist, a friend, or whatever, and figure out if it's lining up with how you want your life to go. And if it's not, if you get a bellyache every time you walk in the door, something's wrong. Something is wrong. But I do believe that what's waiting for me on the other side of all of that, the cancer, the closing of my business, is so much more aligned with who I am and what I'm about. And that door, or those doors, were never going to open for me if I did not close that one. Hardest decision I ever made in my life. And now I am behind the chair 2 days a week, 3 if I want to, 1 if I want to. It's up to me. It's great. I love what I do. I have never loved what I do more than I do right now at this stage in my life, because I can be with my customers in my chair. I take as much time as I want. There's no scarcity mindset. I'm charging appropriately for my services, for my knowledge, for my expertise. And I love what I do. And if you had asked me that 7 years ago in the thick of it, I was starting to really not like it. But it wasn't it. It was the situation that I was in. So is it hard to change? Yes. But we have the power to always keep growing and learning and changing. Like I said, you don't have to walk in tomorrow and quit your job. Don't do that. I didn't say to do that. But the stories, our story, our beliefs, our behaviors have been embedded in us. We believe these stories. We believe that we can't do anything else. We believe that if I close my business, that people were going to look at me as a failure or unprofessional or not driven or not successful or all of those things. We believe those things. And in order to grow, you have to believe a different story. And I believe a very different story now. My business was very successful. Closing it was not a failure. Closing it was the biggest success in my life, because I reclaimed my life. So you have to believe a different story. A story that makes sense to you, a story that makes you happy, not anybody else. You. I always say, when you're talking about happiness, if you take everybody out of the picture, don't include anybody in your plans. Don't say like, well, when my partner and I, XYZ, we're going to do this, or we're going to win that. No. What do you want? What makes you happy? And trust me, that is a very, very, very hard question to answer when you take everybody else out of the equation. Because so much of the time, our happiness is based on the other people in our life. And I want you to not only imagine, like, take everybody out of your life, but what does it look like to be happy? What are you doing? Like, are you on the beach? Are you on a mountain? Are you at a different job? Like, what does it look like? What does your happiness look like? What does it feel like to say no? And piece of homework for all of my people pleasers out there that never say no. I want you to say no once before the next podcast comes out. Just say no once and mean it. And it doesn't mean that you have to say it mean. It doesn't mean you have to make excuses. No, I'm sorry, that doesn't fit into my schedule right now, but thank you. It's all you have to say. That's it. I would actually make plans with 2 people at the same time because I didn't want to say no. And then when the time came, I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And I had to last minute cancel on somebody. So I always look like a jerk, instead of just saying, I've already have plans, which is okay to say. If it's hard for you to say no, or it makes you uncomfortable to say no, that's stuff that you need to dig into. That's the piece of you that you need to get to know better. and understand why it's there and what you're afraid of if you did say no. What is your fear behind saying no? And, how do you go about changing that narrative? And that's really just learning more about yourself and practicing. And if you need bigger help, therapists, whatever, I'm all for different modalities as far as healing and helping and all of those things. But what I've learned in my life now is that busy doesn't mean valuable. So I don't need to be busy or look busy to prove my value. And I also am very aware that I am not responsible for anybody else's happiness but my own. Somebody's in a bad mood, unless they've told me that they are mad at me for XYZ, it has nothing to do with me. And I don't pay any attention to it. So rest is good. Rest is a recharge. Rest is a way for me to honor my body and appreciate all it has done for me, despite what I have put it through all these years. I am so grateful for my body every day. And I say that because I have put it through a lot and it keeps coming back for me. And I'm just so grateful for that. I'll never take advantage of my body again. Never. So who's out there still hustling? What would happen if you put yourself first? What would happen? And remember, you don't have to earn love or sacrifice yourself to be liked. So if you guys want to shoot me a DM, Facebook message, Instagram message, email, whatever, I would love to hear your thoughts on all this. And I would love to hear from those of you who are still overworking, burning out, running away from fill in the blank. Maybe you're not aware. Maybe this podcast is shaking you up a little bit, and that's not a bad thing. But don't hesitate to reach out. I know sometimes it's a lot for people who have never heard any of this stuff before. So I can't thank you enough for being here for the 3rd episode. I'm going to have a couple more, and then I'm going to have some guests on that are going to share their story, and I'm very excited about that. So thank you. And remember, you are so much more than your story. I will see you next time on the Survivor's Chair podcast. I can't thank you enough for listening and supporting the Survivor's Chair podcast. You can read my blogs, get on my email list, follow me on social. Just head over to my website at kimrussellpro.com. That's www.kimrussellpro.com. If you loved what you heard and you want more, don't forget to like, subscribe, and download. It really helps us reach other people. Sending so much love and healing your way, and we'll see you next time on the Survivor's Chair.